Good morning, everybody. It has been 22 years since Maura Murray disappeared. Maura Murray disappeared on the evening of February 9, 2004, after a car crashed on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. Her whereabouts remain unknown. Maura was a standout student athlete from Hanson, Massachusetts, enrolled in the nursing program as a junior at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Her family continues to actively search for answers in an effort to find Maura. Maura's disappearance has made international headlines and made her story one of the most followed missing persons cases throughout the world. Her case has been featured on ABC's 2020, Disappearance, the Oxygen Channel, Montel Williams, Dr. Oz, E! News, People, Daily Mail, New York Daily News, and numerous other media and news outlets. Maura was born on May 4, 1982 in Brockton, Massachusetts, and was the youngest daughter of Fred Murray, a medical technician, and Laurie Murray, a nurse. Maura grew up in Hanson, a small suburb on the South Shore of Massachusetts, in a working-class family, with plenty of guidance from her siblings, including her older brother Fred Jr., sisters Kathleen and Julie, and a younger brother Curtis. Her parents divorced when she was 6 years old. Maura was an overachiever that excelled both academically as a National Honor Society member and athletically. At the same time, she was active in her local community, where she became known for her kind heart, signature dimples, and beautiful smile. She participated in nearly every sport, including competitive AAU basketball, which allowed her to travel all over New England as a teenager. A fierce competitor, she consistently finished in the top tier of runners in the state of Massachusetts and broke several long-standing school records. Selected as a Boston Globe All-Scholastic in cross-country, Maura qualified for the U.S. National Scholastic Outdoor Championships in the 2-mile as a sophomore in 1998, finishing 33rd in the country. She graduated at the top of her class at Whitman-Hanson Regional High School and had her pick of colleges, both academically and athletically. However, she decided to accept a congressional nomination from the late Senator Edward Kennedy and join her sister Julie at the prestigious United States Military Academy at West Point. Maura continued to excel in the rigorous military and academic program at West Point and established herself as a force of the cross-country and track teams. During her second year at West Point, Maura decided the military was not for her, and she transferred to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, where she decided to pursue a career in nursing. On the morning of February 9, 2004, Maura submitted her nursing homework electronically and reportedly emailed professors stating there had been a death in the family and she would leave campus for the week. There is no death in the family. She placed a call to the owner of a condominium in Bartlett, New Hampshire, which is a place that was special to Maura that she had spent time at in the past. She packed a bag of toiletries, makeup, workout attire, school books, and several days worth of clothes. At 3:15 p.m., Maura stopped at an off-campus ATM and withdrew $280, which was nearly all the money in her account. She then stopped at a liquor store and purchased about $40 worth of alcohol, according to authorities. She departed the Amherst, Hadley, Massachusetts area around 4:30 p.m. and drove her 1996 Saturn north toward New Hampshire. She did not tell anyone what her plans were or why she was heading to New Hampshire, on that Monday afternoon. At 7:27 p.m., Faith Westman, a resident of Haverhill, New Hampshire, called police and stated that there had been an accident near her home, that a car was stuck in a ditch. Shortly after, a bus driver named Butch Atwood drove by and spoke to Maura. He offered her help and asked if she needed him to call police. She declined both offers and said she had already called AAA. Knowing there was no cell reception in that area, Atwood drove home about 100 yards east of the accident, parked his bus, and went inside to call 911. His call to 911 was placed at exactly 7:42 p.m. When asked if she appeared injured, Atwood told police that she appeared shaken up and that the airbags had deployed, but that he saw no blood. By the time the first officer arrived at the scene at 7:46 p.m., Maura was gone, and that was only 4 minutes later. The officer noted that the car had been locked and there was a box of red wine behind the driver's seat, as well as stains on the ceiling and door, and a Coke bottle that appeared to have a red liquid in it. He also noted that there appeared to be a rag stuffed in Maura's tailpipe. Later, it was learned that this was something Fred had advised Maura to do in order to avoid being ticketed by police for the excessive smoke coming out of the tailpipe. The officer asked the bus driver for assistance locating Maura and suggested he drive west of the accident scene and search some of the roads in the French Pond area. A state trooper also responded to the scene and also searched the roads west of the accident site. Fire and EMS also responded to the scene. EMS was dismissed within minutes, perhaps because there was no one at the scene to treat. The 8 firefighters briefly searched the accident area before proceeding back west and returning to the fire station. As far as anyone is aware, no one searched east of the accident scene. The bus driver's brief interaction with Maura was the last known sighting. Since that time, there has been no trace of her and no activity on her cell phone or bank accounts for 22 years now. This clip is from Disappeared, and this is Butch Atwood's statement.
I just asked her how she was. She said she was shaken up. I couldn't see any blood on her face. And she was shaking like this. I says, okay, I'm going to go call the police.
I spoke with the one witness that actually talked to Maura Murray that night at the accident scene. That witness says that Maura appeared a bit shook up, but she did not appear intoxicated.
And then this is a news report from about 3 years ago on News Nation.
Thank you for joining us for this live web show focusing on the disappearance of a young woman named Maura Murray. Tonight, we are going to take a closer look at this case, and Maura's sister, Julie, will be joining us live in just a moment to talk about the renewed effort to investigate the last location Maura was seen. Maura vanished in 2004. She was a college student at UMass at the time. According to her family, she was smart, gifted. She was a talented athlete as well. In 2004, her car was found crashed along a rural road in New Hampshire. And when first responders got there, there was no sign of Maura, and there hasn't been a spotting of her since. Nearly 2 decades after she vanished, we have learned investigators are now returning back to that original scene to look for new clues and also evidence, and they are focusing on that last spot that Maura was seen along that rural road. Correspondent Kelly Beeson here now with more on the renewed search for evidence and the answers Maura's family is determined to get all these years later.
Out of the blue, New Hampshire conducted a massive search for my sister Maura, not far from where she disappeared in 2004.
Dozens of police cars and a mobile command unit parked alongside New Hampshire's Route 112 as officers searched near the place where 21-year-old Maura Murray was last seen in 2004.
My family's encouraged. I'm in constant communication with law enforcement, and I will update here when I can. But this is big.
Maura was a nursing student at UMass Amherst when she disappeared, minutes after crashing her car on that rural road. Coming just days after the launch of Facebook, the case has been labeled the first crime mystery of the social media age.
It's sort of two mysteries. It's why was she going to New Hampshire and what happened to her, combined with the fact that there's really not a lot of clues.
Erin Larkin hosts a podcast about the case. She and Maura were on the UMass track team when Maura suddenly left campus.
She told her professors that there was a family emergency or death in the family and she was going to be away for a few days. And then she got in her car and drove to an ATM off campus and withdrew $280. And then stopped at a liquor store and bought about $40 worth of alcohol.
But there was no death in the family, her parents not knowing anything about her plans. As she headed north on a country road around 7:30 on a Monday night, she lost control on a sharp turn, the car going off the road into a tree. 911 transcripts show a call from a man driving by minutes later. He said she was shaken up and the airbags had deployed with heavy damage, but Maura refused help. By the time an officer arrived, the car was locked and there was no sign of Maura.
I think the most likely thing is that she was picked up by a local who offered her help, perhaps at first, but then something bad happened, and that person is most likely responsible for her disappearance.
After 18 years of searches and candlelight vigils, still no solid leads or answers. Bones discovered last summer turned out not to be Maura's. Now, with her profile finally entered into the FBI database, hope that somewhere, something will turn up.
My hope is that there's a hit somewhere in the country. Some unidentified person, they put in the DNA and they can make that connection. That would be the best case scenario.
And joining me now is Julie Murray. She is the younger sister of Maura Murray. Julie, thank you. And also Erin Larkin is here. To you both. As we discuss this case for folks joining us online, I want to encourage everyone to join in the conversation. You can post your questions below. And as we discuss Maura's disappearance, we'll do our best to our ability to answer some of the questions that you may have. Ladies, this case has garnered national attention over the years, time and time again. Let me start with you, Julie, and really this renewed effort and search in this specific area where your sister was last seen. What sparked this change in the investigation and this focus?
Well, first, thanks for having me on. I truly appreciate it. I think spreading awareness is how cold cases get solved. But I got a call last Wednesday out of the blue from New Hampshire law enforcement, and they said, we're going to do a search for Maura today. So they didn't tell me specifically what sparked it. They said that it wasn't based on new information, but they were going back to check an area that they had searched before.
And did they find?
And in news about 4 hours ago, with Murray's anniversary as 22nd anniversary of Maura Murray's disappearance approaches, officials with New Hampshire Attorney General office say they are actively utilizing new technology in the investigation. Murray was 21 when she drove to New Hampshire on February 9th, 2004, crashed her car in North Haverhill, and disappeared. Murray is considered a missing person, but her disappearance is considered suspicious by investigators. In a news release Thursday night, investigators said they were using advanced investigative techniques that were not available when Maura vanished. State officials did not characterize the nature of the technology they are using. We are applying these modern tools to existing evidence and new information as it arises, with singular goal of bringing resolution to this case. Officials with the New Hampshire Attorney General's office said in a statement, "It's not clear which items and evidence they are referring to, but in recent years, investigators have looked more into Murray's car. News 9 investigates obtained a court filing in the case in 2024 that included an analysis of the vehicle from collision experts who could not definitively conclude whether Maura was the only person in the vehicle. Investigators are encouraging new tips, no matter how insignificant it may seem, to be sent to the Cold Case Unit." Interesting. So I think they're trying to conclude if she was the only person in the vehicle of the time of her accident, or of the time she was driving to Haverhill, New Hampshire. So that's interesting to find out. So they are actively investigating all of her evidence and going through as tips come in. And that is great, great news to hear. That they are going through the evidence with the new technology that we have, because we do have all the new stuff that we can go through the DNA and go through. I forget what the new stuff is called, but that is definitely great. So this one says the Attorney General's office Thursday released a statement reaffirming the New Hampshire's Cold Case Unit's commitment to the investigation. Decades may pass, but our determination to find answers for Maura's family and the public does not diminish, said Senior Assistant Attorney General R. Christopher Knowles, Chief of the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit. And he has been doing a lot of work in cold cases. And he has been solving them. Well, his team has been solving them. So, members of the Cold Case Unit work daily with state and federal law enforcement, pursuing every credible lead. Furthermore, we are actively utilizing new technology and advanced investigative techniques that were not available at the time of Maura's disappearance. We are applying these modern tools to existing evidence and new information as it arises. So hopefully, praying to God that Julie and Fred can get answers, because a lot of people in Maura's family have passed since she has vanished. So I'm praying, they do find answers. Please remember, hit the like button, comment below, and share this out. Let's bring Maura home.